Hello, Lens Legends, and welcome to another episode of the Portrait Profit Show, where we focus on the business side of photography, the real business challenges that professional photographers face every single day. I'm your host, Jim Landers, your guide on the business side, and it's my mission to uplift portrait photographers to make a great income doing what they love. If you're new here, let me tell you a little bit about what we're all about. This is where we cut through all the noise and get straight to what actually helps you build a sustainable, profitable photography business. Each week on the Portrait Profit Show, you get tips and systems on the business side of photography, designed to help you gain a mastery over marketing and sales, reducing the struggles that most photographers face so you can finally get what you deserve. This show's for photographers who feel they've got something to learn on the business side. So if that's you, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Portrait Profit Show. The Portrait Profit Show is brought to you by Digital Pro Lab and Landers Photography School. For Digital Pro Lab, Amanda and her amazing, wonderful team are going to make you look like a hero. And that's just by default, because Amanda hires professional people, career people, not someone who's working there for a short period of time, moving on to the next thing. No, people who love this stuff. And that's why, by default, it just makes you look like a hero. If you haven't used Digital Pro Lab, or if you haven't printed, you need to reach out to digitalprolab.com, because Amanda and her wonderful team are going to make you look like a hero. And for Landers Photography School, that's me, that's my company. I teach the business side as well as the photography side, both sides of it. Now, the majority of my time is spent on the business side nowadays, but I've written over 250 different classes over the years since I started teaching. So chances are I've got something for you, or I know who can help you. So reach out to me, Jim at Landers Photo School, to get more information. Now, I want to encourage you today to make comments and ask questions throughout this discussion. So when I bring on our speaker, if you've got a question for him, if you want to compliment him, I want you to do that. Go to the comments and let us know what your thoughts are. Ask questions. And if they are in line with what we're doing, I might even ask them. We have plenty of questions lined up, but we certainly want to consider yours. So go to the comment section. Go to the comment section right now and enter in hashtag live, letting me know you're watching us live here today on either Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or YouTube, or simulcast to several different places. Enter in hashtag replay if you are watching the replay, though. If you're here right now, hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. Now, I also request that you share this show. Just click that share button if you're on Facebook. Let other people know that this exists. That's how people know about this show. We don't have a budget for advertising the show. It's word of mouth. It's you who are letting other people know about this show. So do me a favor, click that share button and let other people know about the Portrait Profit Show. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're stuck? Of course. But while you're feeling stuck, have you ever felt like you're working harder than ever? That you're putting in the time, you're putting in the effort, but somehow still not getting ahead? I mean, clearly that's not a sign that you're lazy. You're not. You're not unmotivated, but something is off and you can't quite put your finger on it. Well, today's guest can put a finger on it and probably a whole strategic plan also. Let me introduce to you today Carlos Villarreal. Carlos, how are you doing today?
Hey, Jim. Excited to be here. Thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for letting me be a part of your community.
Of course. Yep. Carlos is a performance coach and a business mentor who's been coaching since using film was still king. So he's worked with names like Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, Brenda Bouchard. But don't let those big names intimidate you. Carlos is all about clarity and consistency and cutting through the noise. He cares. In fact, when I reached out to him to be on his show, to be on my show, um, after he agreed to be a guest, he asked me, "Is there anything that I can do to help you?" And I shared something with him, and he did help me. So he's not the kind of guy to hype you up and send you on your way. He's here to help you actually get clarity on the work that gets you where you want to go, especially if you're feeling stuck or scattered or straight up exhausted. So, my fellow photographers, creatives, business owners, if you've ever wished someone could just look at your business and say, "Here's what's going wrong, and here's what to do about it," you're going to love this conversation. So get ready to rethink what it means to be productive, get ready to shift mindsets, and most importantly, get ready to unlock the kind of performance that actually moves you towards your ideal life. Carlos, I'm so glad you're here on the Portrait Profit Show today. So, to get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure, Jim. Since what was your saying you had that film was as
So,
old as
since
film
film
was
was
king?
king,
Yeah. So I've been around for a little while, so I'll kind of give you a quick story on my background on and to where I'm at right now and being a professional coach. So, after high school, I was going to university and I started a retail job and I loved retail. People say that you either love retail or you hate it, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed working with people. And, I grew up in retail. I found myself managing my first store at 19 years old. Back then you think like, wow, I really made it. I'm managing a store at 19 years old. But while that was, some success, it came with a lot of other challenges as well. So I was learning a lot, trying some different things. I went on to manage a couple of other stores. And by the age of 24, I was promoted to a district manager position where I go from managing one store to over 30 stores. And that really created a lot more intensity in terms of the job itself. And so, I had challenges, how to manage people better, how to come up with the right processes, or even use the processes the company had. And so, I started getting into personal development so it could help me improve my career, my business as I climb, the corporate ladder. And so I worked with one company for about 18 years, and then I went on to work for another company that was retail as well. but I was hired on as a consultant working with independent and franchise owners, and everything seemed to be going well. I mean, look, I had tough years. I had some very good years, and everything seemed to be going well. However, in 2014, my life changed. I was diagnosed with liver disease just out of the blue. It was a life-changing moment that, prompted me to do some deep reflection about my career and the direction of my life. At the same time, I still had a job to do. I had a team of regional salespeople out there working with business owners, and I was achieving success by conventional, standards, but lacking true fulfillment. And that experience became a catalyst for change. So mentally, I made the decision after being stuck for a while. I made the mental decision that I had a lot more to give than spend my time in the corporate world and continue to climb the ladder. So, I hired a coach. I hired a coach to help me come up with an exit strategy from corporate and how to do something that I always wanted to do, which is become a coach, something I thought about for many years. And I felt that was the best thing I could do to impact more people. So, I know what it's like to feel stuck, but I also know how powerful it is to find, a new way forward. So today I work with individuals and business leaders to, get rid of overwhelm, gain clarity, and create lasting impact in their life and create their next level. So that's a little bit about me, Jim.
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of good stuff, and it certainly helps tell your story of what you've done, why you've done it, what your motivators were, man, I certainly appreciate that you shared those things with us. So I've got some questions for you. Um, in your experience, what's the biggest difference between people who hustle endlessly with no significant results and those who make steady, profitable progress?
Yeah, Jim, that's a great question, right? Because I see so many people that we'll call it grinding, right? Like they're grinding at work and they're doing a lot of stuff. They're doing a lot of things. But what I have personally seen and having worked with hundreds of business owners is there's kind of like two categories. It's like the ones that have some steady, consistent results, they have a focus driven strategy. Okay, they have a focus driven strategy compared to other business owners that they seem to be working really hard, uh, but they're just like spinning. They keep on spinning their wheels, and they keep on questioning why they're not getting the results that they really wanted when they started their business. So I would clarify it in a way of let's call this first group busypreneurs, right? So they're always doing busy work. It's busy work, uh, but it's not really productive, and they're not really accomplishing anything. And so they're always in reactionary mode. Um, and what happens is these types of owners, they avoid the uncomfortable situations. They're shying away from them, and these are situations, things like that they should be doing, which are things like marketing or selling. And so what tends to happen is they allow fear or ego, or maybe another way to think about it is they're stuck because they're in this perfectionism mode that's keeping them from moving forward. That's dictating, how they work every single day, every single week, every single month, and even for years to come. Now, the focus driven owners, they know how to prioritize. They are prioritizing their work. They're working on the right things. And one of the things that they do is they say no often. We probably heard a lot about distractions. We all get distracted. And while that's true, people that have a focus driven strategy, they know how to say things to no that's not going to serve them or their clients, to make the impact that they want based on their mission that they're striving for. You know, they take the time to really think. They're thinking it through as compared to the people that are always busy. They're not really slowing down. They're just like going, going, going. But the strategy focused owners, they're really thinking about what they want. They're thinking about the strategy. They're reviewing and they're refining their craft to grow their business. They not only have great routines, but they build the systems that are required for their business to scale. So, the key is to move from the busy mode to what's important in the business to, being focus driven with the right strategy. It's said that business is 80% psychology, 20% skill. Like we can all learn like the different skill set, but we have to have the right psychology to be able to move us forward. If you've ever heard before, but I see this quote every now and then, but like Jeff Bezos from Amazon, one of the things that the way that he managed and the way he was able to get him and his team to move forward is all they needed was about 70% of the information, uh, and they would make a decision to move forward. And I bring that up because I think a lot of people that are doing a lot of the busy work, they're in this perfectionism. They're trying. They're not launching. They're not doing something. They're not growing and moving forward because they're always waiting for that right moment. They're waiting for the perfect moment. And guess what? That's never going to happen.
And that's so right. And I don't know if it's disproportionate or if it's normal. We creatives, we photographers, absolutely guilty of that. Pretty much every one of us have at least experienced it, but probably most of us, that is a major problem. And I love your word, busypreneurs. I definitely find myself in that category too often. I, I think I'm good about getting myself out of it, but man, it takes some focus.
Yes, it does.
Uh, so thank you for that. Those are good. Um, have you? Well, you've helped entrepreneurs gain clarity. How do you define clarity in business? How can a portrait photographer begin to find clarity?
Yeah, another great question, Jim. And you know, the way you asked it, it's kind of like, how do you define clarity for business? I would go deeper. I would say it's about defining clarity in your life and business. You know,
Yeah.
so because they're intertwined, and a lot of the times, when we're trying to grow a business, or maybe we've had a business for years and we're stuck somewhere after 10 years or 20 years, but but to define clarity, you got to know really who you are. And I know that sounds so simple, but reflection is key, and we got to be able to continue to always reflect on, who we are, what do we want, how do we get it, and those may sound like some simple steps, which they are, but they're not always easy to get the clarity that's needed to be able to move forward. And so it's about having a clear sense of your values, of your goals, of the actions that are going to be required to move forward in your life and your business. So what I recommend a lot of the times is to gain that clarity is to think often, like really, like I know we're always thinking, but create a habit to where there's intentional thinking that's going on about your life and your business, and journal about it. Journal about like who you are. How do you want to treat others? When you talk about business, it's kind of like how do you want to show up for your clients? How do you want to be able to speak to, potential clients? Like, how does your service impact the needs of what your potential clients, what they're looking for? So you got to be able to define the best of who you are that guides your life, and it comes down to values. One of the best ways that I learned, gosh, back in 2018, 2019, when I was starting my business, um, was really about uh, some key questions. And so, if I were to ask photographers, like, what business are you in? And I don't know if, let's see, if you're on and you're viewing, if you're in the chat, and if you can answer, like, if I ask you, what business are you in? Let's see if we have any answers. Actually, I'm not sure if I am even connected there, um, but I'll just move on. So, like, when you hear what business are you in, the automatic answer that comes, like, well, I'm a photographer. I take pictures. I do weddings. I do family portraits. I do some sort of photography. But then go deeper and ask yourself, like, what business are you really in? you know and so when you talk about clarity, you want to, as a photographer, you want to be able to think about, like, what does the client want? Like, when you ask, like, when we hear what business are we in, it's not just about taking pictures. It's about having someone feel good about themselves. It's an image, or maybe how are we going to help them? What's that image going to do? Or what's that wedding, those wedding photographs going to do for memories? But you got to go really deep and ask yourself, like, what business are you in? What business should you be in? And ultimately, it comes down to gaining that clarity of really knowing what your clients really want. Like, how do they want to feel after you've provided your service to them?
Yeah, that's exactly that's perfect. And I think you're right that most photographers are going to answer that way. Well, I'm a photographer. I'm a wedding photographer. I'm a newborn photographer. I'm a family portrait photographer. I'm a high school senior photographer. But it absolutely goes a whole lot more deep than that. It's interesting that in the last episode I called that a weak response. When you answer that way, because it doesn't really do much. It's not going to intrigue the person that you're talking to or saying it to. And when it comes to planning, it doesn't cause you to do a whole lot more of what it is that you need to do. I like that you said determine who we are, what we want, and how to get it. I'm taking notes, by the way, so I'm reading my notes. So a clear sense of your values and goals. Yeah, fantastic. Love that. Um, by the way, Lens Legends, if you are so inclined, I want you to give us your thoughts, give us your comments, ask questions, tell us what it is that you do, if you or it, let me give you something simple just to get you started. If any of you are nodding along right now, thinking this sounds good, I want you to type in one word, clarity, in the comments. Let's see who else is feeling this, who's relating to this, is making sense. Just add in that one word, clarity, telling me that you're watching and that this is making sense to you today. Now, I've got more questions for you, Carlos. So, if a photographer listening today feels stuck, I mean, that's where they feel. I mean, they're not necessarily at an impasse, but they've got that stuck feeling. They're working hard, they just don't seem to be getting ahead. They are maybe bringing in some business, but they have no money in the account to get that new lens that they feel that they need. So they're feeling stuck. What's the first thing you'd tell them to do?
Yeah. Um, I love this question because you can go so many different ways, but I always think about it's like when someone's stuck, like, they're really looking for a breakthrough. They're really looking for a, a moment in time when just like something changes that gets them to, want to move forward. And so I'll share a framework that I use that I learned years ago from one of my mentors. And this framework, it's an easy framework, but it gets you really to think about um, where the issue's at. Like what's really gone, and it's one of three things. It could be all three things. It could be two out of the three things. Uh, but let's jump into it. And by the way, so there's three steps, but I'm gonna start in reverse order. I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna go backwards and come to the first thing. So in reverse order, the first thing is called what I would call the method. Okay. So the method is basically, the strategy or the action plan, like what specifically needs to happen to achieve a specific result, right? So, let's say, for example, if somebody wanted to lose weight or they just want to be in better shape and get fit, they need a method, right? They need a specific action plan on getting a specific result. And when we think about a method, we can Google, like we can drive anywhere, we can walk anywhere, we can Google. There are thousands of methods that are out there that are going to let people know what they need to do to lose weight, whether it's working out, whether it's diet, nutrition, what have you. There are so many methods out there, like it would be like really impossible not to come up with the right method. But what tends to happen is when people are looking for a specific result, like maybe they're stuck and they're like, why don't I have enough, say for example, why don't I have enough clients? Like, what's going on with my marketing? They're kind of stuck. They always want to know the how. And that's the method. But but there's two other things that need to take place before you get to the method. Okay? And so the second thing in the middle is what I call the meaning. Okay? So the meaning is either beliefs or stories that could get in the way of why someone is not moving forward. So, when you think about, we all have different beliefs, we all have different belief systems from when we were kids. We started to observe and we started to be influenced by our parents and then be influenced by teachers. And you grow older and you have friends. And so we all have various beliefs or stories that we tell ourselves. And a lot of the times, these beliefs or stories, the meanings that we give these beliefs hold us back. And it could be, maybe there's a meaning of money. Maybe it's kind of like, wow, my business is not really growing. I'm not generating the revenue I want to be generating, but maybe there's a belief that's causing someone to be stuck because something they heard about money when they were growing up or getting older. Maybe something like money doesn't grow on trees, for example. So there could be something that they're giving a lot of meaning to that's causing them not to move forward. So what needs to shift there is the meaning. We got to tell ourselves a different story. We have to adopt a different belief to give ourselves a different meaning to move forward. A couple of great examples is Martin Luther King. He had a dream. He had a dream of the impact that he wanted to make for humanity, right? And so, he didn't know the method, what exactly it was going to take to get a specific result, but he had meaning. JFK said, "I'm going to send a man to the moon." He didn't know how he was going to do that. He just put that out there, but that was a meaning that was very powerful to him. And then it just started. It created momentum, and look where we're at now with, people, going to space. So change your meaning, you change your life. Okay. And so it's all about the mindset, the physiology that needs to happen. Uh, but the most important thing, step number one, remember I started in reverse order. So method is technically number three, meaning is number two. The number one thing that needs to change is what is called our mindset. So that's the physiology, the state that we are in will determine the kind of result that we're going to get. And this is the pattern that's going to affect us, in life and in our business. So, say for example, it's like photographers, like you want to grow your business, you want to, you're speaking to potential clients. It's like, how are you showing up? Like your state is everything, like how you show up, how you talk to people, how you talk to potential clients. Are you showing up at a 10? Are you showing up at a 4 or a 5? Because people do not want to do business if someone comes in at a 4 or 5. They want someone to show up at a 10 and let them know what they're going to get by hiring you as a photographer. So, the state creates, the energy that's needed. Um, and that's a critical question. It's not to be overlooked, but as photographers in any kind of business, really, when you're making any kind of proposal, you want to ask yourself, at what level am I showing up? What state am I in? Because you got to be in the right state to be able to show up at the highest level if you're expecting great results.
Man, that's a lot of good stuff. Man, thank you for that, Carlos. I appreciate the examples that you gave too, like MLK's dream and President Kennedy's dream. They may not have known the how, but they knew what the goal was. So it's like, let's say you want to go visit a friend who lives out of town. You may never have been there before, so you don't know how just yet, but you have the goal in mind. So therefore, because of that, you can start building a plan to help you get to it. So,
That's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
good stuff. Good stuff. Uh, you have a couple of comments in here, so I'll share with you. Oh, let's give you one real quick. Janice is saying great information, and Robert's making a point that I've heard photographers make. So I'll put that one up on the screen. And he had part two to this. Well, I don't know where the part two is, but there's the first part of it. But he's, how to talk to someone so that they don't kind of roll their eyes when he says, I'm a photographer, as if he's a poor person. But the second part of it, I think said, oh man, I've already forgotten what the second part of his question was. I don't know why it's not showing up here, because he had two parts to it. But
Yeah, so I think so. Like what I see here from Robert, what you posted. So yeah, if I say I'm a photographer, I get a sigh and get a, oh, okay, as I'm a poor person. It's like it's like I always think back. I always think about like networking events, and no matter what your occupation is, but see, we've all grown up like uh, we all work, right, and whether it's retail or corporate environment. Um, we're all about the titles that we've been given, right? That's part of the identity. Like, okay, you're a photographer, that's going to come out. But it's really about like I always just envision like being at a networking event, and if someone comes up to a photographer and says, "Hey, what do you do?" Yeah, they could say, "I'm a photographer," and just like Robert said, they're going to get some kind of response. It may not be the response they're looking for, but if the photographer responds by saying something like, um, uh, I help create memories for families that'll last a lifetime. And and then the other person says, well, how do you do that? Right. So it triggers another question that could create the dialogue. without you having to say, well, I'm a photographer, and they're like, well, here's what I exactly do, right? Or maybe there's a certain niche that a photographer has, but it's about describing what we do, because just like Robert mentioned, it's like it has nothing to do with being a photographer. It's like no matter what the title is, someone can still look at you like, oh, you're just a poor person. Like, what do you do? Oh, I'm a life insurance agent. Oh, what do you do? I'm a coach. What do you do? I'm a photographer. What do you do?
Good point.
You know what I mean? So it's about describing what you do and how you help people that'll trigger some more dialogue.
Nice. You mentioned that mindset determines the results. So, and you mentioned having a shift to make that happen in the way that you want it to happen. So, I've got a question for you. How do you help we creatives? How do you help us shift from reactive to proactive, especially when it comes to planning goals and growth?
Yeah. Again, it's like I mentioned earlier. It's like when we're always thinking about business, right? That's why we're here, right? It's like photographers, no matter what kind of business that we're in, and so we talk about we just automatically shift to like, what are my goals? Like, I want to generate X amount of volume in a certain month, or I want to do 100,000 in the next year, whatever it is. So that's equated to goals and growth. But but normally, like when I'm working with clients, I don't normally start with what are your goals? I'll eventually want to know what their goals are, but I think there's something higher than that and probably something more important on shifting, from reactive to proactive. And what I mean by that is you want to take a look at, what do you want your life to look like right now at this point in time, or maybe in 5 years or 10 years. And then, and I would call that, like, what are your life outcomes? And when you think about life outcomes, it could be things like, maybe you want freedom, maybe you want more money, maybe you want more success, maybe you want to be healthier. And so these are, call it a dream list, but these are things that you're really working towards. These are your life outcomes. Um, and then when you think about the life outcomes, you want to be able to uh, create some routines um, that are going to be in place, and they're going to be done consistently to meet your life outcomes. So it's like, if someone says, I want to be healthy, it's like, well, a routine that's going to be required is, um, are they really taking a look at all the different kind of foods that they're eating? They take a look at reading all the different ingredients? Are they eating the right foods to fuel the body, not just what's convenient, like the pizzas and the burgers and the hot dogs? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong in eating those, but we all know that too much of that cannot be good for us. It's all about moderation. But if somebody truly wants to be healthy, it's about incorporating routines that are going to help them get to those life outcomes. So once you have your life outcomes, and then you create routines, the other thing, then you start working on the goals. And so the goals they're very specific. We all heard about like SMART goals. They got to be measurable, and they got to be time bound and what have you. So the goals, that's like, I want to generate $100,000 in 12 months. So like that's a very specific goal, and behind that goal you obviously have your purpose, and then you have the specific tasks that need to happen in order to achieve that goal. Or it might be, I want to take on 5 new clients in the next 30 days. So that's a very specific goal, but that's very different than your outcomes or your desires. um, and then what you have are your tasks, and tasks are just things that need to be done throughout our life. You gotta go to the grocery store. You gotta maybe go to the dry cleaners, or watching children's soccer game or baseball game, lacrosse, whatever it is. So there's just things that need to happen at part of life, but the key thing is not to confuse tasks with goals and goals with your outcomes. And we'll talk a little more about productivity, hopefully here in a few minutes. But it's kind of like, uh, if I look at someone's schedule, I should be able to look at someone's schedule or someone's calendar, and I should be able to see, like, where are they spending their time. You know, it's like, it's the roadmap. It should be the roadmap of where they are attempting to go. So, if it's as a photographer, if you want more new clients, I should be able to view a calendar, view a schedule, and I should be able to see a lot of blocks of time where, maybe emails are being sent out, or maybe phone calls, or maybe networking events, or just whatever it is, to be able to make some connections. So again, I think it's about, like, really coming up with your life outcomes, and routines is really key. Coming up with the routines to support that, and then coming up with your goals, and then working your tasks, with what you have going on in your life.
Yeah, that is some good stuff. I like how you separated those out, the life outcomes, the routine that's required to get to that, defining or getting clarity on your goals, and then what tasks are you going to do day to day to reach these things. So you've spelled that out real well. Now, you because you brought up systems and routines, I've got a question about that. Uh, Photographers wear all the hats because we're generally just independent business people. Now, I say generally, there's plenty of business photography businesses that have a lot of people working, a lot of employees, but generally speaking, it's a single photographer and maybe one or two people. But photographers wear all the hats. They're the artist, they're the marketer, they're the bookkeeper. What systems or routines have you seen that help solopreneurs stay focused and productive without burning out?
Yeah, yeah, and burnout's huge. So burnout happens everywhere, whether you're in corporate or you're a solopreneur. Maybe you just started your business and it's exciting and everything, but after a few months, after a few years, it's kind of like you get into this overwhelm mode, and you feel like you're burning out. So I would this is all about productivity. And so when I think about productivity, what I would suggest is that, it's got to be consistent, but, like, every single week, there are certain things that need to happen. A few minutes ago, we talked about routines, but, you know, creating routines for both our life and work, it's critical. It can't just be about work. It's about creating the right routines, because they're intertwined. And so, what I would recommend is, before the week starts, and I'm talking about a Sunday. This is something that I do on Sunday. I just take a few minutes and I take a look at the upcoming week, and I am planning the week by the day, and I'm creating blocks of time. So it's specific day and a specific time that I'm going to do certain things. And those certain things may have to do with my personal life, and a lot of it's going to do, with my professional life as a coach. So um, what tends to happen is that if we don't plan our week out in advance, and a lot of times I like to go, like, even 30 days out, because a lot of times you're making appointments, or you got things coming up, you're already putting those on your phone or your calendar, your schedule somewhere. So a lot of those things are going to happen there. But take a few minutes on a Sunday and plan your week out, so you know what's going on. Because what you don't want to happen is, come Monday morning or come Tuesday morning, it's like, uh, a lot of us, we start our day in a reactionary mode. And we haven't talked about like distractions yet, but a lot of us start our day, and one of the first things that we do is we pick up our phone and we just start scrolling. We just start scrolling, and we're taking a look at what's going on Facebook, what's going on Instagram. We're googling different things, and so when you're doing that, you talked about mindset, but you're in a reactionary mode, because based on anything that you just saw right after you woke up, it's starting to put some different feelings, some different sensations. Maybe you got an email, maybe you got not so good news, or something happened, so you're starting off in reactionary mode. That's why you want to plan your week in advance. Like, take a few minutes on Sunday, like literally take 10-15 minutes. It's not a lot of time to plan out your week. And one of the other things I do is I live by a mantra of win the morning, win the day. And I don't remember where I picked it up from. I know there's a lot of great books out there and talking about that, and there's a lot of different analogies, but that's a mantra that I live by. When you win the morning, you win the day. And what that basically means is, I have my specific routines that I do every single morning, even, before I start working. So one of the first thing I do when I wake up, I hydrate. I'm drinking, a lot of water. I am listening to a podcast, some kind of audio or video. I'm feeding my mind great things to prepare me for my day ahead. I do some gratitude, thinking about gratitude, a little prayer, and then I start my work. But my work, I've already, when I get to each certain day, I know specifically what I'm going to do at a specific time. Because if you think, a lot of people, they think, well, I have a lot of time during the week, especially if you're a solopreneur and you don't have a full schedule, a full roster of photo sessions that photographers are doing, or maybe there's just a lot of like free time, and you look at your schedule and you think like, yeah, there's a lot of free time. I'll get to it when, but that doesn't happen. By the time the end, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock comes around, and you ask yourself like, what did I get done? And it's not very productive. So again, I plan my week on Sundays, prepare for the week, every single day, win the morning, win the day. And what that means is take care of the most important things in the morning, get them out of the way. And they could be the hardest things. Tackle the hardest goals or tasks first. And it doesn't mean that, 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock comes around, you stop working, but there tends to be like more distractions and more things that could pop up potentially in the afternoon. But you got your key things out of the way because you took care of those in the morning. So yeah, I think I'll leave it with that, Jim.
Man, it's a lot of good stuff, Carlos. Again, still taking notes, productivity every single day, every single week, the specific things that must happen, set some time aside on Sunday, block off time, take care of the most important things first, win the morning, win the day. That is a great mantra. That's absolutely good thing to do. So we're nearing the end of our time for the show. I wish I could keep on going because I've got more questions for you. But your insights on gaining clarity, setting boundaries, and building momentum. These are the exactly the kinds of things that this community, the Portrait Prophets community, who I call the Lens Legends, need to hear right now. And so I appreciate you taking your time to break down these concepts in a way that's practical and actionable for us. So before I let you go, for those who want to learn more about what you do, can you shared with me an offer that you have before the show? Can you share that with me and how they can take advantage of it?
Sure, Jim. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's been great. Can't believe that time flies, when you're having fun, as they say, right? But Yeah, so for all of our viewers, your community, Jim, I'd like to offer a 1 hour free clarity session. That just simply means that get in touch with me. I'll give you my info here in a minute, but get in touch with me. We'll schedule a call. We can go through, your business in 1 hour, maybe some of the successes you've had, or maybe the challenges if you're stuck or something. No, it's just a clarity session that I'm offering up, and you can reach me at my email address. I think we'll drop it in maybe after the call, but it's Carlos, Carlos at, and it's my last name, Villarreal. That's V as in Victor, ILLARREAL coaching.com. So Carlos at villarrealcoaching.com. Send me a message. Let me know that you would like to schedule a free 1 hour clarity session, and more than happy to do that. You can also find me on Facebook and find me on Instagram as well. And I also have a website. It's carlos-villarreal.com. So everyone can reach me there, Jim.
Perfect. So I just posted that on the uh, 4 of the different places we're simulcasting to. I said free clarity session with Carlos Villarreal, Carlos at villarrealcoaching.com.
Yep. Thank you.
Man, thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise with us today. You've got such a positive attitude, just a persona. You're smiling all the time. You definitely come across as someone who cares and really does want to uplift others. So I definitely appreciate you and what you've brought to us today. Thank you for being here, Carlos.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, man. Is he awesome or what? Man, I appreciate people like Carlos, but especially Carlos today because um, he brought so much to the table, so many things that we can think about, so many things that we can do. And so, with the help of our guest today, Carlos Villarreal, we looked at something that is fundamental to building a thriving photography business. It's not just about doing more, it's about doing the right things with clarity and at the right time. So, if you're feeling stuck, or just plain exhausted, it's probably not because you're not working hard enough. It's probably because your focus needs a tune up. So, if today helped you get a little clearer on your business path and your life path, share it with someone else who deserves that clarity too. And also reach out to Carlos at carlos at villarrealcoaching.com. And that's 2 L's, 2 R's, VRLcoaching.com. And just tell him you want to take advantage of his clarity session. Lens Legends, building the business you want starts with getting clear on what matters most and cutting out what doesn't. That's hard. It's hard for me. It's simple in theory, but like many of us wonderful photographers, it's not always something we do naturally. So we benefit by having a push. So next week, that's exactly what I'll do. I'll show you exactly how to build your own clarity toolkit, complete with templates, tools, and simple systems to keep your goals, your marketing, and your client experience running better than you would have ever imagined. More on that in just a moment when I share our upcoming show titles. But before I do that, I've got a couple of announcements to make. For those of you who are in the San Antonio area, now I know not everybody is in the San Antonio area, but we're in San Antonio, Texas, USA. For those of you who are in this area, I've got a Photo 101 that's coming up soon on Wednesdays. I've got 2 different versions of it: a multi-day and a single day. And so uh, for uh, the one that's the multi-day, it starts on April 30th. And just reach out to me, Jim at landersphotoschool.com, and say you want some information about that. That's 4 Wednesdays in a row beginning April 30th. And then I have another one that is on Saturday, May 3rd. So, I mean, that's just this coming Saturday. And that's 9 to 3. So if you have an interest in either one of those, reach out to me, Jim at landersphotoschool.com. I also want to tell you about the career photographer program. And this is something that has been redesigned. I've been doing this program for a while, but I've redesigned it because there's been so many changes post COVID that it just really needed to have a complete overhaul. So the portrait, excuse me, the career photography program is my signature coaching program for committed portrait photographers who want to build a highly profitable, low volume business so they can make a bigger impact, enjoy more freedom, and increase their income with confidence. So if you'd like some more information, just use the QR code. Just use your phone and photograph that QR code, or use your phone. You won't actually photograph it, but you use your phone's camera app, and that's how you will get more information. Now, if for some reason you can't do that, well, just reach out to me, Jim at landersphotoschool.com. Jim at landersphotoschool.com. Now, as you know, we have the Portrait Profit Show every single Monday. So I want to tell you about our upcoming shows. Let's see. In 1 week from today, I'm going to be presenting to you Focus Your Business Like You Focus Your Lens. And let me tell you a little bit about that. Bring that up on the screen. There we go. So, focus your business like you focus your lens. It's time to bring your business into sharp focus. You know this. You wouldn't photograph a session without dialing in your settings, without having your lens focused. So, why run your business on guesswork and blurry goals? I'm going to hand you the Clarity Toolkit. It's a photographer friendly, fluff free, action packed guide to building your dream business. That's 1 week from today on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. And then 1 week after that is our panel show, and we move that one to 6:30 in the evening. So not at noon, 6:30 in the evening, and we do the panel. The reason why we move it to 6:30 in the evening and not do it at noon like every other time is because it's easier to get panelists in the evening than it is during the middle of the day. So there's the simple reason for it. On Monday, Monday, May 12th at 6:30, the panel is planning methods. So join me and three photographers as we discuss the planning methods that they use to help them get the results that they want. And then on May 19th at noon, we're going to be doing Plan Your Next Year today, Plan 2026 today, so you can build it with clarity, with confidence, and purpose. We're going to lay out the essential steps to shape a business that you love with a clear path to the clients, to the income you want, and the calendar that matches your goals. Planning now, you may think that planning in May is too early to plan your next year. It's not. In fact, if you're one of my coaching clients, that's how you start, but you'll realize that you plan for the next year at the beginning of the previous. And so and that's because you're experiencing it, and some things are cyclical. And so you plan them just after you've done them that year, you plan the next year. But this is how we get it going. Planning now gives you more space to create the year that you truly want. Plan your 2026 today. That is on May 19th at noon. Put it on your calendar. You don't want to forget. And then to round out the month of May, I'm going to be bringing in a CEO of a local company called Modern Managed IT. Now, this one is called Your Business is Only as Safe as Your IT. Now, this is something that many of you have thought about. Some of you haven't yet. But I'm going to interview Russell Mitchell, the CEO of Modern Managed IT, to reveal how photographers can protect their work, their clients, and their future from digital disaster. Make sure to add it to your calendar. This is going to be a good one. And it's not one you probably think about very often, but you have to. It's part of the deal. So put that on your calendar. I want to thank you for joining me today, Lens Legends. And a special thank you to our guest, Carlos Villarreal, for sharing his expertise on gaining clarity and performance in business. His insights today gave us a powerful reminder. It's not about working harder, it's about focusing smarter. If you'd like to take advantage of his offer for a clarity session, all you have to do is reach out to him, Carlos at VillarrealConsulting.com. And Villarreal is two R's, two L's. And so that's how you can take advantage of that. Now, if you found today's conversation helpful, make sure to let Carlos know in the comments just a quick thank you, or maybe something that you got, something that resonated with you. Please please like, share, and join us next Monday at noon. Today we explored how clarity can be the missing piece that unlocks real progress. Now is the time to take what you learned and put it to work. Take a few quiet moments this afternoon, as soon as the show ends, to list out, let's say, just 3 areas in your business that you feel that are right now feeling the most overwhelming. Look at that list and ask yourself, where do I need clarity first? You might be surprised at how much easier the next step becomes when you get clear on what the real problems are. I'll see you next week as we take it even further, building your personal clarity toolkit with the tools, the templates, and the systems that will help you build your business and help make it run smoothly and intentionally. Until then, stay focused, stay intentional, and keep leading the way. For Landers Photography School and Digital Pro Lab, I'm Jim Landers, the host of the Portrait Profit Show, where we spark passion and build thriving businesses. Until next week, Lens Legends, keep creating those powerful emotional connections that's in your lives and in your clients' lives. I believe in you, and I look forward to watching you grow. You are awesome. Bye for now.